We have about 40 over already. Okay. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gloria, and I'm from Nature Society. I'm the Vice Chair of the Education Committee. So today, we are honored to have Mr. Nicky Bay with us. Okay, let me read out an introduction of him. Okay, so Nicky is a world-renowned macro photographer based in Singapore, and his works has been featured on National Geographic, BBC, and Wired, and as well as many other publications. So Nicky has held solo exhibitions in Europe, and has accumulated one of the largest arthropod photo databases in the world with about 40,000 high-quality macro shots. So he'll be showing more than 100 today. Okay, and all his shots can be found on his website, nickybay.com. So his photos are also featured in his book, Borneo Spiders, and he runs photography workshops in Borneo, Africa, Central America. Okay. Okay, can you please mute yourself? Hold on a second, please.
Now, Daddy, help me.
Sorry, let me.
Daddy, help. I need help. Dad. Oh.
Oh, Nicky, you can share your slides now. Sorry, I was muted. And also unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Can I start already?
Yes, you can start.
All right. Okay, very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking your time, your precious weekend to come and attend this webinar. Basically, for this talk, I'm going to talk about the spiders of Singapore, and I'm going to throw a lot of photos at you. Basically, I'm going to show a lot of the interesting spiders that I've seen and showcase the diversity that we have in Singapore. Okay, so I'm going to go through very fast. If you have any questions, just note them down, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the talk. So I get this question a lot. Like, Singapore got many spiders, man. And they say, where do you go and find spiders? So in Singapore, actually, we have about 56 families and almost 800 species recorded. So that's a lot for a very small country. Okay, so in this picture is a shot of me with a custom setup at about 1 centimeter away from the spider when I'm taking a shot. This is the result of that shot. So now I'm going to go through like where you can go to find spiders. So basically, you can go to any nature park. Okay, in Singapore, there are a lot of nature parks. You just go to MParks website and check the list of nature parks or nature reserves, or even park connectors. Okay, basically anywhere with trees and greenery. Yeah, there are also places at home and in our neighborhoods where you can look around for spiders, and even at your own house. So but when you're in the forest, you can look. The spiders exist in the forest canopy, in the foliage, or on the tree trunks. There are a lot of spiders that live on the tree trunks, and on the leaf litter, and that's where a lot of the spiders are less seen or ignored. Okay, there are spiders that live on the surface of water bodies, and there are spiders that live in the intertidal area, which means when the tide recedes, when it's low tide, and the spiders are living in that area. Okay, there are also spiders that are living in urban environments. So where can you find spiders? So this is a scene at home. My kids will be looking for spiders after dinner. Almost every time after dinner, they'll go look around, look in the crevices, look under the cabinets, basically looking for spiders. You can find daddy longlegs or some of the oikobids. And so it keeps the children interested and keen when they find different things crawling around. Okay, and outside, even outside your home. So this is an Ouroboros that I found right outside my house. Okay, so you can see HDB flats just behind. Okay, so this presentation is not going to be very structured. I'm just going to go through like family by family on some of the interesting spiders that we've been seeing. So this is a bug spider. I'm going to go through some of the common names. The scientific names are listed, okay, but since this is kind of like introductory talk, and I'm not going to use all the Latin names. Okay, but do note that Latin names are still preferred. The common names are generally made up. Okay, it's made up by authors, made up by other people that is not really recognized. Okay, so this black spider is it weaves a very huge web. Okay, this is nocturnal, so at night you can see the adult ones weaving webs at over 2 meters in size. Okay, and at daybreak it will keep the web and go and hide again. So when it hides, right, this is how it looks like when it hides on the branch. It just wraps itself around the branch. Right? There are other spiders that wrap themselves around branches and they look like part of the branch. Okay, so these are the poultice, or commonly called tree stump weavers. Like you look at the one on the right, they actually extends the stump of a branch. And we can see that it has been resting there for 3 weeks. Every night you just weave its web. And then in the morning, you just keep and go back to the same spot to rest again. Okay, there's also a spider we call a wraparound spider. So you can see that over here, it wraps itself. The body is very flat. It just wraps itself around a branch to conceal its shape. And this is a mature male. As you can see, it's also very flat. You can, if you see from a distance, it's more difficult to see the spider. And because they're orb weavers, right? They will weave orb webs. But for this particular genus of spiders, it will weave what we call a ladder web. You can see this is the bottom of the orb web. You can see it's not a complete orb web, just the bottom of orb web. The spider will be at the center of this orb web, and when disturbed, you just go up to the branch on top. Very convenient, you just go up and wrap yourself around the branch. And when the coast is clear, he'll come back to the middle of the web. Right. So this is what I call the periscope orb weaver because of the elevated ocular quad, which means the eyes. Okay, the eyes are on the elevated stalk. And we've only seen this in recent years, in the past 5 years. And slowly over the years, we found the male and we've been trying to identify it. So up to now, we still don't have a species for it yet. And the interesting thing is, I mean, when I observe spiders and we try to look at all angles, we see that there are what I call pseudo eyes behind. So it looks a bit like eyes, and it's a very reflective knob behind. Okay, so there are a couple of spiny orb weavers in Singapore. This is one of them. Okay, and a lot of them actually weave their orb webs high up above our heads. So if you want to look for them, remember to look higher up. Okay, this is one of the most common species. And for this is most likely a younger version or the juvenile of Macrocantha, which is this. Okay, this orb weaver has one of the longest horns around the world, and there are others of similar long horns, but this is definitely one of the longest. And over here, okay, this is the ventral view, which means the underside of the spider. You can look closely and you notice that there's a small little spider underneath. Okay, that's the male. Okay, so this shot is to show how small the male can be when compared to the female. Okay, and this is probably one of the first few shots of a mating pair of Macrocantha in the world. And it's actually an accidental shot. I just took the shot and I found the spider only when I got home. I found the spider in the photo. Right. So next we have very common cross orb weavers. I call them cross orb weavers because they're always having their legs positioned in a cross, in the X. Okay, so these are the species that we can find in Singapore. The most common will be the GOP versicolor on the left, then GOP ayamula, And for Argyrope catenulata, they are almost always found above water bodies. But like places like McRitchie Reservoir or the Singapore Quarry. But recently I found them at some of the aquariums in Pasir Ris. Okay, there's also Argyrope dung and Argyrope mangal. Argyrope mangal is exclusively found in mangroves. Okay, so I hope after seeing this, you'll be able to pay more attention to these spiders. Maybe you can try to identify them. Okay, so next we have the ladybird spiders. These spiders mimic ladybirds. Why? Because ladybirds have a kind of chemical in them that makes them taste bad. So when birds try them out for the first time, right, then they'll instantly relate this pattern to a bad taste. So it's not a very good choice for a meal. Right, so that's why the spiders will mimic ladybirds. There are a couple of species around in Singapore. So this is a yellow one. And this is not necessarily a different species. We're not sure because it's a juvenile. We also have what we call a bird dung spiders. Okay, so this spider is said to like emit smells that and pretend to be a bird dung. Okay, because many insects actually take this bird dung as a food. So this is the way to attract the insects over and thinking that it's food, and then you just capture the insects. It's like an ambush. Okay, the interesting thing about these bird dung spiders is that it's this web. Okay, if you are out at night, okay, it's easier to find its web and then look out for these structures. Okay, so it could be like a V shape, a horizontal V shape, and then these V shapes are connected by a couple of loose silk in a U shape, loose silk. Okay, so what happens is if the prey gets caught on any of these U-shaped silk, okay, the one end will disconnect, and then like this. Okay, one end will disconnect, and then the silk will just drop down with the prey below. Then the spider will go down and collect the prey. Okay, so this is a cytorachniid. It's commonly called the bird dropping spider, but I'm not very sure about that. So the thing about this spider is we look up close and observe up close, right? This is a very common spider. You look up close, you might see movements on the abdomen. You see over here. Okay. So this observation has been published on National Geographic, and we are still not sure of the exact reasons behind this movement. But I believe that it could be digestive fluids. It could be just because the outermost layer is very thin and transparent. It allows us to see what's going on inside. But if you ever see this spider next time, try to observe and look closely. You will be able to see these movements. All right, this is what we call the bola spider or Garius. Okay, it's called bola spider because of its hunting technique. Okay, it actually dangles below a leaf with a silk, and then I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of this, but it will generate a ball of sticky fluid, okay? And then it hangs the ball of sticky fluid with a line of silk. Then it will just like swing this ball of fluid towards moths. Okay, so this spider actually attracts the male moth with by emitting pheromones like the female moth. So it attracts the male moth so that it can just whack the male moth. Okay, so this spider is got 6 spinosus because of 6 spines on the carapace, on the head. Okay, you look up close, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right, this is another species of bola spider. It's only found very recently. And the interesting part about this spider is that the eyes are also elevated and is asymmetrical. The interesting thing is we found different specimens, and both were asymmetrical. The eyes were just tilted to one side, which is very weird because in nature, most things will be symmetrical. Okay, most living creatures will be symmetrical. Okay, next we have Cytophora, which are tent web spiders. If you are out in the nature parks often, you may be able to see them a lot. Okay, so the way we differentiate them is you see one big messy web, which is what we call the tent web, and you look at the bottom of the web, you see a lattice pattern at the bottom. Okay, a lot of square shaped mesh at the bottom. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 species in Singapore. Let's see whether you can find all of them. Okay, and there might be more. I don't know, but these are the 6 that I've photographed so far. Okay, of all of these, the most common should be Cytophora unicolor. Okay, if you see the giant, a very huge web spanning 1 meter across and a big messy web and with a square lattice patterns at the bottom, look out under the dead leaves within the web. This spider will be hiding under one of the leaves. Okay, so this is an example of this spider of this genus laying an egg sac. So it weaves the base for the egg sac, and I waited about slightly over an hour for this. Then it lays the eggs. It looks like sunny side up. Okay, but you look up close, you see that all these are the orange part are all the eggs inside. Okay, then after that you will wrap up. Okay, you wrap up with another silk layer, and you become one ball. Okay, next we have Noja nocticolor. This is a very beautiful spider. It looks all the silver and black colors are very distinct, and you see that there is a little dark spot behind, and that is the male. Okay, so this is also an example of sexual dimorphism where the male is much smaller than the female. So what the male is doing is actually waiting for a chance to mate. Is waiting for the female to get busy. So at this point of time, the female is busy. Okay, busy eating or capturing a prey, and so soon the male will know it's a good time to go in and mate with her. The other time when it's a good time to mate is to wait for the spider to molt. So in this scene, right, you see a Nephilophilipis that's just molted. The female is just molted, and a couple of males are coming in to mate with her. And you see there's one male that's already been successful and mating with her already. Okay, then you see it's very common to see a number of males going after the female. Okay, but sometimes some of these red little spiders around this golden orb weavers may not be the male. Some of them may just be food stealers. Okay, I'll show pictures of those later. Okay, so this is an example of how it looks like when the golden orb weaver has just molted. It looks like candy cane. Okay, the colors are still very vibrant, and after a while, the colors would turn dark orange or black. Another molting sequence. This is a toe-tailed spider. Two tails because of the very long spinnerets behind. Okay, so we waited about 20 minutes for this. We saw it hanging, and we know that it was molting. So it was a good chance for us to document the entire sequence. Okay, next we have the long-jawed orb weavers. These are also orb weavers, but their orb webs will tend to be horizontal or diagonal or inclined. Okay, so the orb webs will not be vertical. And a lot of them have very big jaws. So I call the family big jaw orb weavers. And for this genus Tetranyata, the jaws will be exceptionally long. And for those who shoot macro, I try to take close-ups of the dentition, which means all these parts on the jaws. Okay, so the shape and position and size of this dentition is critical for us to identify the species. All right, so for this spider, there's only one record in Singapore. We found it in MacRitchie, and unfortunately, this was already almost dying. But it's a very colorful, very vibrant spider, and we're very glad that we were able to see it in Singapore. Other than Singapore, it was found in Borneo as well. Okay, so this is a very interesting spider. We were not very sure of the family it belonged to actually. So we found it only last year, and this is one that we rarely get a spider where we are not sure of the family. We decide between mimetid or tetranyatid. Okay, so up to now, we're still not very sure yet, but it's worth putting up here. So if anyone sees them again, please let me know. All right, so we talk about mimetids. This is a pirate spider. Okay, the spider goes after other spiders. That's why it's called a pirate spider. It preys on other spiders. And how do we identify this family? Okay, so we look at the spines on the legs. Okay, for the spines on the legs, we look at the close-up. Okay, the spines or legs will have a pattern like this: long spine followed by a row of short spines, and a long spine followed by a row of short spines. Okay, so if you do find something like that, you suspect it's pirate spider, try to look close at the leg spines. All right, so next, look at the leaf litter now. These are very small spiders. That's why we call them dwarf orb weavers. Okay, so we only found this last year, and the entire web is only about 2 to 3 centimeters big, and it's almost impossible to see the spider. So this is a shot from my hand, my phone actually. That's why it's quite blurred. Okay, let's look closer and see what's inside. So we look closer, you see all little white fluffy balls. These are individually wrapped eggs. Okay, so we don't see this often. In fact, we never seen it before. Okay, every egg is wrapped individually, and the spider is over here, and it's the same size as the egg. Okay, so this is very bizarre. You say, how does it lay so many eggs and be so small at the same time? Okay, a closer look, you can see the eggs inside and the fluffy wrapping around the egg and the spider itself. So this spider, the size of this spider is less than 1 millimeter. Okay, it's probably the smallest in Singapore. Less than 1 millimeter large, small. Okay, so there is another genus in this family, Crassinata, and this is how the webs look like. It's slightly larger. It's about 2 millimeters large, and the webs will typically be between small buttresses. And it's common to see many webs together. You see multiple orb webs, horizontal orb webs inside here. You don't really see a spider because they're all really tiny. And here's a close-up of how the spider looks like. And on top, you see how it looks like in the middle of the orb web. Okay, next we have the pteridiosomatid, which sometimes we call them the ray spiders or slingshot spider. Okay, slingshot because it weaves an orb web and then it pulls the orb web towards the perpendicular direction. So in this case, you see the spider is pulling with a strand of silk connected to the other end, and is waiting for prey. So when the prey goes across above the web, it will just release this strand of silk, and the web will just spring up. So it's like a slingshot. Okay? Spring up and catch the prey. So these webs are commonly found on the leaf litter. And so if you want to find them, you really have to look into the leaf litter. Next, we have the pseudo orb weavers. So the pseudo orb weavers because it looks like orb web, but not exactly an orb web. It's a very messy orb web. Okay, and in the middle orb web, there will be a road leaf where the spider is hiding. So this is what it looks like. Okay, normally, and look up close, you see the spider hiding inside. The front legs of the spider are very long and hairy. Okay, so this is for the genus Phaceania. Okay, also in this same family will be the Sacrus, the lace-shaped weavers. These spiders are commonly at the base of large trees. Okay, they build very big webs, but they're very sensitive to movement. So when you approach, try not to just run in. Okay, approach, walk slowly to observe them. These spiders can get quite big. Okay, so this is a close-up of one of them with holding an egg sac. Next, we have the net casting spiders. So these are relatively large spiders, but and they're nocturnal. So at night, they will weave this what we call a net to be cast over a subject. So it will just hang upside down, facing maybe a branch or a leaf, and waiting for subjects to just walk past before it throws its net over the subject. That's why we call it a net casting spider. Okay. So this is a close-up of the eyes. Sometimes it's also called the ogre face spider. Okay, net casting spider is for the family. Ogre face is for maybe this genus, Asianopis or Minopis. Okay, so recently we found that the juvenile actually looks very colorful and very interesting. So this is a close-up of the juvenile. So if you ever find them, do take more pictures because even the dorsal view looks interesting. Yes, very vivid purple and white patterns. Okay, next we go to the coast, to the beaches. So this is an intertidal spider. By intertidal, it means that it lives in the area between high tide and low tide. Okay, so these spiders are at high tide, you'll hide in water bubbles inside barnacles. And when the tide recedes, it becomes low tide. These spiders will come out to hunt or whatever living things it can get its legs or jaws on. Okay, so I shot this at East Coast Park. Basically, we just wait for low tide at night, and then we go check out all the barnacles that are exposed. Okay, so there's also a jumping spider with the same behavior, intertidal behavior. Okay, so this is the male of the jumping spider, and this example of how it's hiding behind the sheet of silk, so that when the tide comes up, it will still be dry. There will be a pocket of air inside, and it's protected by the silk. Okay, so talking about jumping spiders, there are a lot of jumping spiders in Singapore, and in any spider book, right, there will be at least 25% to 30% of the book will be dedicated to jumping spiders because it is the largest family. Right? And from what we see, a lot of macro photographers does like to take pictures of the face because of the large anterior median eyes. Looks like a human, two median eyes. All right. So, but what I would say is I encourage everyone to take a dorsal view. So this is just a very small selection of what we've seen in Singapore. Okay? I encourage you to take a dorsal view because the dorsal view sometimes is much more colorful, with much more details that can use to identify them as well. So I won't go through too much for this family because a lot of people like them so much. They just take a lot of face shots for these spiders. But for me, I'm not so keen on them, but I do take pictures of their dorsal view. Okay, so the main thing to note here is there are a lot of species that will mimic ants. So this is one example of Memarachne where it's mimicking Toxius. That's mimicking an ant. Okay, so put them side by side so you can see the subtle differences. For those who are not familiar with them, most likely you will just assume that they are ants. Okay, so this is one example where the top view is actually much nicer. It's a female Crassula lauta. And actually, it's the male that's actually more famous. You see a lot of photos of the male on the internet, but the female is actually not very common. So we've seen these at Sungai Buloh and maybe near the entrance. Okay, but we don't really see them that much elsewhere. Okay, another example of a very beautiful spider where we just look at the dorsal view. We found this at Pang Sua Woodlands and also at Admiralty Park. All right, so let's look at wolf spiders. Wolf spiders are lycosids, where they will hold their egg sacs with their spinnerets. Okay, so when the babies hatch, they will all cluster around and they'll just hang on the spider's abdomen until 1 or 2 molts. Okay, so for wolf spiders, usually you find them near the ground, on the foliage, but still near to the ground, so at knee level or below. Okay, see, this is one of the larger wolf spiders in Singapore, Lycosa, and a wide angle shot just to show that it's large. You can see the grass behind. Excuse me. And another one, Ovia. Okay, I'm just showing some of the different wolf spiders so that you know that it's not just one species, there are a lot of different species and genera around. Okay, so for lynx spiders, this is an example of a lynx spider guarding its babies. From this photo, you can see that the babies have already molted. So this is already the second or at least the second molt. And they are almost ready to leave the nest. Okay, so I'll show some examples of lynx spiders in Singapore. This is Hamataliwa. Sometimes we call this a monkey king because it resembles the cobra mask for the monkey king. Okay, there's also Taponia. Okay, this is a very rare one, but when you look up close, right, really up close, you can see the iridescent scales on its face. Next here is Zodarid. It's a mud spider. We usually find them on either on mud floors or on rotten logs. Okay, so recently I've been seeing more of them on rotten logs. They're just walking around or just staying still. So it's quite hard to spot them. Okay, this is a coronid. We call it a spiny-legged sac spider. We don't see them often, but it belongs to the Coronidae family. And this Philistati, basically, these spiders are living in urban environments. So like kampong environments. So I've seen them in Pulau Ubin. There are records in Mandai, on some of the buildings in Mandai. And I've seen a lot of them at the goat farm. If you go to Hay Dairies goat farm, you observe the pillars over there. They are all covered with silk, and you find these spiders over there. Next will be daddy long legs. They are actually quite commonly ignored because you see a lot of them at home as well. Then people will say, very common, don't photograph. But there are many opportunities to take nice pictures of them. For example, when the babies are hatching or after their first molt or second molt, you see a ball of long legs, like this example over here. And for a particular species, you look at an adult male, you can see that their eyes are actually extended on stalks over here. Okay, because the palps are so big, right? The palps in front, it's so big that most people don't notice, and you have to shoot them from behind. You shoot the eyes from behind. Otherwise, the palps will be blocking the eyes. Okay, there are some species that are actually identified by the way they arrange their eggs. Okay, so this Nipisa anai is the way it arranges the eggs in a single row is unique to this species. So once you see that it's arranging in this single row, you know that it's this particular species. All right, next, if you look at our freshwater streams, you can see fishing spiders. So they will be resting on water surfaces, and they'll be hunting other insects like pack swimmers or pond skaters. So this is another species we have in Singapore, Nilus. Right, next we have our huntsman spiders. Okay, so I don't have that many shots of huntsman spiders over here, although we do have many species. Okay, so this is the most famous one, David Bowie's huntsman spider. And why? Because of this. Okay, no, actually it's not because of it. If you ask the one who described it, Peter Jaeger, it's just that he was listening to certain music at the time. And also, but from what we see, right, the best trait that we look at is the red stripe across the face. Okay, this is a Heteropoda boyer. It's common in the central catchment, and it's one of the largest huntsman spiders in Singapore. Then this is the male. The male will look more green in the photos. Next, we have Heteropoda lunula. Lunula is actually so far we've seen this spider in our islands like Pulau Tekong, Pulau Ubin, and even Pasir Ris. Okay, so usually you find them on tree trunks. This is also one of the largest huntsman spiders around. And so this black and gold huntsman, previously we've only been seeing them in islands like Pulau Ubin, but recently there have been sightings in the central catchment as well. Okay, so this is a very, very striking spider, black, yellow, very distinct colors. Okay, then we have Pendacetus. The common ones that you usually see are those that we call the lichen huntsman. Okay, but there are quite a number of others in this genus, and I will showcase some of them here. Okay, so for this, right, you see the legs have very beautiful tufts of hair. Okay, so sometimes you see the same species, but you don't see these very nice tufts because they have already gone through a number of battles. The hairs have already dropped. Okay, so for this, we are lucky to find one that's still in very good condition. Okay, now we go to pteridids, which are the comb-footed spiders. This is a mirror spider, very popular because I publish a lot with these photos. So I call it a mirror spider because of the refractive plates on the abdomen. And the interesting thing is, at rest, these plates will appear to expand like this. Okay, appears to expand like this, becomes almost a completely reflective surface. Okay, so there's another comb-footed spider like this, which I call the flexi-tailed spider. I'm not sure of the genus yet, but the interesting thing is, at rest, the posterior part, this tail, is very long. And after we kind of disturbed it, nudge it around, this tail shortened. Okay, so the difference is only about 10 minutes or less, okay, between these two shots. So this is a very interesting behavior that is worth documenting. Okay, we are not sure why or how, but we document first. Next time, if anyone publishes about it, at least we have this information recorded. Okay, so just now I talked about food stealer. So this is an example of a food stealer. Okay, this is Argyrodis, and the males have this very funny looking furry nose in front. It's not a nose actually, it's just a projection under the eyes. Okay, so we have also a Phycosoma. The interesting part about this is the head or the carapace looks like it was pressed in. Okay, only the males have this trait. Okay, once you see that the head looks pressed in, we know that in Singapore, this would be a Phycosoma. Okay, we also have Moleonid tricantha, which they have 3 horns on the abdomen. And these are very small spiders. We call it sesame seed spider because of the patterns on the abdomen. And for the males, the eyes will be on a projection, protruding forward. Okay, you see that there's a little stalk here and the eyes will be all in front. Okay. So we have a couple of species in this genus and all are really very nice, very bizarre. Like this, we call it knobbly strawberry because of all the little humps on top. Okay, so next we have the twig spider, or sometimes people call it a whip spider. Okay, basically the abdomen is super long over here. Okay, very, very long abdomen, and at rest it will be just like a single, it pretends to be a twig or a stick. Okay, but not all spiders that pretend to be a little twig are the same species or even the same genus. And in this case, not even the same family. So this is an Oloborate, Miagrammopus, feather-legged twig spider. You see the legs are what we call feather-legged. Okay, next we have the communal, I call it the communal slender-footed spider. Okay, slender-footed because the way the legs are like very thin ends of the legs. But communal because it's common to see these spiders build webs together. It's common to see maybe six webs together, like a small little community. Okay, so if you do find one, right, look out around the area, you may find more of them together. Okay, so next we have segastrids. These are tube web spiders. So basically, they build the tubes right in between crevices, between like 2 planks of wood, or like little gaps in the trees. Okay, so there's an example of it. And the interesting thing is these spiders have 6 eyes. Okay, we don't see them often. In Singapore, I've only seen them in Pulau Ubin. Next, we have those we have spiders that look like crab spiders or look like huntsman spiders, but no, it's somewhere in between. So this is a philodromid. We call it a running crab spider. Okay, so the difference between this and the actual crab spider is that the second pair of legs will be longer than the first pair. Okay, second legs is always longer than the first pair, but for crab spiders, it's most likely about the same length. Okay, the other will be a wall crab spiders, also a different family. This is a selenopid. We sometimes call them flatties because they are super flat. Okay, these are very flat. For these, I've only seen them at botanic gardens before, and they're on the railings. Okay, next we also have endemic spiders in the crab spider family, the Tomicids or Emisaia. And this particular species preys exclusively on our red weaver ants. Okay, so if you see a red weaver ant colony around, right, you pay attention, you can look around, you may see this crab spider. Okay, they will just be hanging around, just finding the next ant to prey on. Okay, this is a close-up of the face. And we also have some very colorful but common crab spiders like Camericus. Okay, so the colors are very vivid, very vibrant. Sometimes I do find them hiding in the middle of inside a flower. So you're just waiting for a bee to come. Okay? Crab spiders are essentially ambush predators. So they always find a place to hide and wait for the insects to come to them. Okay, so this is a Platytomyces octomaculatus, also known as the 8-spotted crab spider. You say 8 spots, but you see there's actually more than 8 on the body. So what we do is we count 7 here and 1 big spot underneath. Okay, so this particular spider is normally found in mangroves. So in Singapore, it will be Pasir Ris, Sungai Buloh, even Admiralty Park. Admiralty Park is not very frequently found there. Most of the time, you just go to Pasir Ris and Sungai Buloh. Okay, we also have this 5-spotted crab spider. Okay, this is particularly rare. We only seen them once in many years. Okay, so if any of you find it again, please let me know. And this crab spider as well is something very baffling. We are not sure what it is yet, so I just call it the triangle-faced crab spider. I've also only seen once before. And so if you ever see this, please let me know. All right, so we've seen bird dung spiders just now in the aranid family. Now there are bird dung crab spiders as well. Okay, so they all generally look very lumpy. Okay, so this is a different species. You differentiate them by the 2 posterior projections behind. And this particular species, last time we used to see them more in botanic gardens, but recently we've seen sightings in places like Admiralty Park as well. Okay, so this is an egg sac. Okay, so the babies are already hatched below. And this is a very special Phrynorachne. If you've only seen this once, I've seen them in a book for Indian spiders, but up to now we still don't have the name yet. All right, so next we go into Mycalamoths. This is a trapdoor spider. Okay, so we use a stick to lift up the lid and we see the spider inside. And the interesting thing was this particular spider was found behind a bus stop. And we only found it because someone went to try to go behind a stick to pee, then you saw a spider running about, and you saw the spider going back to the burrow. So that's how we found this particular spider. Otherwise, it is very difficult to find the entrance because the entrance is very well camouflaged. You won't be able to notice it at all. Okay, so this is how it looks like close up. So there are a lot of people who start counting the legs. I wonder why there are so many legs. Okay, so but it's because the palps in front, these are not the legs. The first pair in front will be the pedipalps. Okay, they are not the legs. They're considered the appendages, but they're not the legs. All right, so this is what I call the tube dwelling spiders. In terms of common names, we do often see them as like tube trapdoor spiders, but this spider has no door at the end of its burrow. Okay, so we just call it a tube dwelling spider for now. And this is a mature male. When you see this dusty purple pink color, this is the mature male. The female will look quite different. Next we have flagellus. These are the dwarf tarantulas. They are pretty common. So if you go out at night, you see them resting at the entrance of their burrows. Next will be these are black tarantulas, Selenocosmia. Okay, last time we used to see quite a lot of them, but now we don't see too much of them already. Okay, so and last but not least, there's also the Singapore blue. But the problem is for this species, it is also kept as a pet. So it's very prone to poaching. That's why we don't post much about this and we don't really talk much about the locations. Once we find them, we usually don't go and tell everyone where it's found, and we let them be able to reproduce, try to get them to flourish. Okay, so this particular shot is one of a juvenile. I've seen the adult before, but it's way high up. maybe about 6 meters up a tree. So what you should know is they are arboreal. If you do find them, right, you will be finding them several meters up in the on the tree. Okay. All right, so that's the end of my all the photos that I'm going to show you. And so if you want to find more, there's this bonus spiders which I published recently, or not recently, a couple of years ago with Mr. Joseph Cole. He's also working on another project which they will announce later. Okay, so if you are still keen to get this book, you can message me because we do have a little bit of stock left in Singapore. All right, so if you're also interested in more spiders, you can visit my website. I do compile a lot of checklists. Okay, not 100% accurate, but more or less around there. Okay, where I try to update them as much as possible, keep them accurate as much as possible. Okay, so basically it's a photo checklist. You can try to roughly compare. It's not definitive, it's not scientific, you just roughly compare and say, okay, it's around there. Then you do your own homework, go and check whether it is really that species or not. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. This is a Wi-Fi. Right? Nowadays, I'm starting to take selfies and Wi-Fis with spiders as well. Okay, so now I'll pass it to Gloria or Ting Li for any Q&A.
Hello, hi, I'm Ding Li here. I'm co-moderating the session with Gloria, and once again would like to extend my thanks to Nicky for such an excellent presentation, literally giving us a full run-through of all the different groups of spiders we can find here in Singapore. I think it was really brilliant, yeah, and also incited some memories from my childhood days. I think most of us started off our interest in natural history by catching a particular Tania barmoensis. So I think this was really very memorable for me. Yeah. So I'm mindful that there's quite a bunch of questions coming up. I think it's slowly accumulating. And I think we don't have that much time for questions, so I'll try to take them thematically. I think there's a bunch of questions on natural history, a bunch of questions on your photography techniques, and some more general questions. So let's see, we can try to cover off 3 or 4 of the main questions. Yeah. So maybe just to start off light, I think we'll throw around a few questions on the use of your macro photography techniques. There's a question coming in from Crystal Song here, and seems like she's interested to know your setup, on how you take such excellent shots. One of the questions that's asked is whether if there's a need for a light source when you do this spider photography.
Okay. This is going to be a very long answer. So if you want to find more details, you can go to my website. There is a section on macro equipment. But short answer is you do need a light source. All the photos in this presentation were using a flash. Okay, so all of them were using a fast shutter speed with a flash. There's always external light source because I'm going up very close. By the time I go up that close, I'll be shadowing over the spider already. There's no other light. I'll be blocking out all natural light, and I'm almost always shooting at night. So all the light is artificial. So it means it's from the flash. Yeah. And I'm almost always changing my setup. So 1 year Nikon, 1 year Olympus, 1 year Sony. I mean, just play around lah. So not fixed, no fixed equipment. A lot of people just ask, what's the best? There's no best. The best is you go out in the field every day. Okay. I hope that answers the question. If you need to ask more, you can message me separately or email me or just visit my website to have a look.
I think that was a really good answer. Yeah, the more you go to the field, the more you will see, and of course have opportunities to play around with different techniques. Yeah, there's a question that is raised by Matthew, and it's also a question that came to my mind when you were presenting those photographs. Yeah, so question is, how did you get your camera close to your subjects without flushing the spiders, getting them jumping away? What's your take on that?
I chase after a lot of spiders. Not all of them would stay for me. So these shots are those that stay for me. With practice, you just have to be very gentle, approach slowly. Okay, if you're not sure of the behavior of the spider, or do not touch anything that the spider is resting on. Okay, don't shake anything. Make sure when you approach, you will not touch any of the branches. All right, so once you start touching the branches, there is a chance that you just run away. Okay, I shoot at night, so at night usually they are a bit more docile. They're not as active. Sometimes if I know that it's not going to move that much, then I'll hold the leaf to stabilize the subject, so I can just move very close. So you've seen in the very first or the second slide, right? It was about 1 centimeter away from the spider. So it just have to be, you need a bit of practice, then you can get shots close enough, yet you're not hitting the spider. Because it's easy to shake around, and you shake within 1 cm or even 1 mm, the whole shot will get off. So it takes some experience, takes some practice, and with a bit of care. Okay, just don't rush in, don't shout. When you shout, right, it's like worse than thunder to the spiders. All the vibrations can be felt by them. Okay, just be gentle, go slowly, approach very slowly. And then don't be afraid. I mean, don't be disappointed that it runs away. A lot of spiders run away from me also. Nothing that special that I'm doing. It's very common that I chase away spiders. Okay.
That's good advice. Yeah, I think that typically your subject will tend to flee, right? So sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. There's another question that I think may resonate with many of us. Now, spiders are not an easy bunch of things to identify. There's a question coming from Wong Chun Sing, I think with regards to spider identification. I think it seems like he's keen to know how you can reliably identify your spiders. He's keen to know if there's a reliable method that you can use to identify spiders. What's your take on that?
I mean, the most reliable way is to collect the specimen, and then and you need an adult specimen, and then you have to go to a lab to examine the parts, and then look up literature. Some of the literature may be like 200 years old, and some of them may not have the right answers for you, because 200 years ago, the descriptions can be very vague. Some of them just put brown small spider. Then you're really quite lost. Then you have to depend on maybe the type specimen. You need to look for someone who has visited the museums to look at the type specimens. So no easy way out. One of the better ways is to look at what the others have already done, those who have done the homework for you. And those who have done the homework for you have published books or something of that sort. They have already gone through all the old literature. They've already done the comparisons. They've already examined specimens. Which I believe maybe Chun Sing already done something like that. I know him, I met him before. So he's from Sabah. Yeah, so no straightforward answer, but you do need specimens, and then so that even if one day, right, you got it wrong, right, someone who specializes in that group of spiders, that family of spiders, may be able to help with that specimen. Yeah, so, and always make sure you get the mature individuals.
Oh, okay. Do you use iNaturalist to help identify your spiders, or
for myself, no.
No. Okay.
Basically, in Singapore, there are only a few people. Yeah, in Singapore, there are only a few people who will identify spiders. Yes. So your best bet is still go to them, but before that, do your own homework. Don't throw them 100 photos of spider. Ask them to do your work for you. They won't do it. Yeah. So do your own homework. Maybe you start to narrow down, show that you put in effort, look at literature, you narrow down like maybe this, maybe that, but there's something very similar about why we don't know. Then you can start to seek advice from the experts, those who actually do the spider research. I'm not a spider researcher. I just observe a lot.
So just now you have your book on Borneo spiders, right? How close are the Borneo spiders in terms of overlapping with Singapore's spiders? So that
quite a lot. At least 40%. I would say at least 40%. In fact, a lot of the photos inside are from Singapore. Just that we know that they exist in Borneo, so we can use those photos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So actually, a lot of them can be found in that book. But don't be surprised that you cannot find it in the book, because like I said, there are almost 800 recorded species, and over there is only maybe half of it, half of it or less.
Oh, half the diversity of Singapore.
Not half the diversity, it's half of it that we publish.
You mean
in that book.
40% are
Yeah,
found.
it's impossible to cover the whole Borneo and record every species.
Yeah.
Half the time you'll find things that we have no idea what it is.
That's
Then
good
it
to
takes it's a very long route to figure out what it is. Maybe you take an expert to tell you, okay, this is what family. You go and find the expert on that family to tell you what it is. But before that, you can check your own literature. You'll find out which genus it belongs to. Try to narrow down as much as possible. Then, when you do this, right, it's also a higher likelihood that the expert will want to help you. If you find that you are very a lazy fella, just throw everything to him. Sometimes you won't get a reply.
Okay. Okay, so Ian, right, is asking about your observation on the post-molt mating behavior of the golden web.
Yes.
So basically, have you seen this behavior in other spider species or families, and how widespread is this? Whether
It should be very, very common. It should be very common, especially when the male is smaller. So it's very common now. The female is much bigger. It will and it can eat the male. And the male has to get really up close to her genitals, you know. I mean, really go and mate and stay there for a while. Sometimes I do see the female kicking the male off. Okay, so yeah, I would say it's very common. And the most vulnerable time will be when the female is molting. No matter what, she won't be able to come and eat the male. So that's actually the best time for the male to approach. Okay, even when the female is busy eating something else, you can just change and makan the male. Just turn around, makan the male, and come back. So the best time is actually for the female to molt, and then the male can approach safely.
So it's right because it's not hardened yet, so the mouth parts are not hardened, is it? That's why you cannot.
No. Yeah, not just mouth parts, the entire body is waiting for the entire body to sclerotize. Yes. And during that time, it won't be moving. It cannot move. It has to rest and stay still. If you start moving, next time it may not harden in the right places. Yes. It may not harden with the right shape. So it has to stay still and wait. Just wait for time to pass. Wait for it to molt. So that's when it's most vulnerable.
How long is this wait for it to sclerotize?
I don't know. It could be a few minutes. I believe it should be a few minutes.
Oh, that's quite fast.
Or less than half an hour, basically. It can be more than 10 minutes.
Very small window.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be more than 1 hour.
Okay. So do you know whether pheromones are involved to inform the male spiders whether the female has molted?
I don't know.
Are they just hanging around nearby anyway?
I think they will just hang up nearby. Like for example, the Cerostris, the first spider, the bug spider, you'll see that the male will actually sit on top of the female for some time and wait for the final molt. Sometimes you look for the sub-adult females, which means one molt away from the final molt, and then you hang around nearby. Some of them will just hang around nearby. Wait for them to molt, then you just go in.
Wow. Okay.
So maybe there's a way for them to know they know this girl is almost mature already. It's time to go in.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. It's possible.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Dingley, you want to take the next question?
I will take a question, but I also want to throw two questions of my own. I have some of my own questions. Yeah. So but anyway, I'll let Nicky take one question first. There's one here, probably not so difficult to answer, from Fui Ling Ho, about differentiating juvenile and adult spiders. Are there any general characteristics that people should look out for when they try to tell apart the juveniles and the adults?
Okay, to tell juveniles from adults, right? It's different for males and females. For males, it's easier. For males, you look at the pedipalps. The pedipalps should be swollen with complex structures. So sometimes you see the palps are bigger, right? Like boxing gloves, but there is still a bit translucent and smooth. Those are sub-adult males, which means you need one more molt to be an adult. And especially for jumping spiders, these sub-adult males look like girls, look like females. After the final molt, they'll look completely different. Okay, so for males, you look for the palps with complex structures under the palps or behind the palps. Yeah, complex structures means sometimes you have hooks here and there, things sticking out. Okay, so these are what arachnologists will use to identify the spider. Okay, for females, it's a bit more difficult. You need to look underneath. Look under the spider. There will be a sclerotized the genitalia. Sometimes it's a bit popping out, and sometimes you need experience to be able to differentiate that. Sometimes I see already, I'm also not sure. Like there's like yes or no, maybe yes, maybe. Okay, so sometimes it's very obvious. It's something sticking out, sclerotized with like two holes at the side. So for females, it's a bit more difficult. And for females, the young female and the adult female sometimes look very similar. Yeah, so it's just by size sometimes. So what I do is sometimes we need to take a vial, put the spider inside a vial, then you look underneath. Then with experience, you'll be able to see. Some people will say, oh, flower eye, but some of them, the experienced one can still see very well. All the very tiny detail, less than 1 mm, they can see the genitalia. Then the young people cannot see. So this is all boils down to experience.
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah. I have two small questions myself, really, to out of curiosity of the spider diversity. So I noted that you mentioned that there are 800 known species. Is that correct? 800.
Almost 800.
Almost 800. What do you think is the true diversity of spiders in an island like Singapore, and which are the most species-rich places in Singapore for spiders? What would your take be?
Well, it's very hard to answer that. So the first question, how much more do we not know?
Yeah.
I always believe that there is quite a bit more that we do not know, but not that much. What we don't know are the places we have not explored, which means like a forest canopy. In Singapore, we don't do any, I don't think anyone does any studies on the forest canopy for spiders. You need to fog them, let all the spiders die and come down, then examine all the dead bodies. So no one's doing that over here. Or even maybe there are spiders living inside the soil, deep down inside the soil, we don't know. Or spiders living inside tree trunks, inside, not on the surface. So there are things that we don't really know. Maybe you discover a habitat with 1,000 more species that we also don't know. But among the known habitats, I believe we already covered at least 75%. That's what I believe, because we really go through how many times already. We just look through how many times, but maybe there are blind spots. Maybe there are blind spots that we just don't know where, we don't even know to look there. Sometimes we find new species along a road in private estates. Sometimes it just happens. So we've never thought of looking there, but we just find a very unique species along those very ulu roads.
I see.
Okay. Was there another question that I missed out?
No, just curious to see your view on what do you think is the most diverse habitat. I mean, if you ask me, my own random guess, because other things are diverse, would be some places like Bukit Timah Hill. But what is your experience? Yeah.
Bukit Timah Hill,
Yeah.
or the central catchment area. I mean, these are still very wide areas, very, very wide areas. So, but you won't see me going back to the same area all the time. I will just rotate. I'll just keep going to different places, because by going to different places, you see different things. The chances of seeing something different is higher when we visit a new place, a place that's new to me. Yeah, so you say, which is the best place to visit? I get this in every single talk. Where's the best place to visit? Or my favorite place to visit? My favorite places to visit are the places that I cannot go. I'm not allowed to go.
Like Pulau Tekong, probably.
Tekong not so much, because it's very highly disturbed.
Right.
You see the recruits just running across everything. All the spiders run away already. Because I did like random sampling in Tekong before. Reservist was there. So lunchtime, go and look for spiders. Yeah. So but I do see that it's a bit not as diverse. We need to go into those forests that are not so disturbed.
Not so disturbed. We don't have a lot.
In Tekong, it's really all the recruits just running across, like breaking branches all over the place. It's a bit harder.
Can I ask a question with regards to nocturnal versus diurnal? Are spiders, which just like you mentioned that at night they are more docile, but I thought my impression is that spiders are more nocturnal. So
yes, the spiders that are nocturnal, right? You won't even see them in the day. It's very hard to find them.
Okay.
They are all hiding in the day. So then not much choice already. If you see them at night, actually they don't run as much. It's possible that you find a spider on the leaf, on the dead leaf on the floor. It's supposed to just pick up the dead leaf and it's still standing there.
Because it's hunting in that position.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's just it just depends on the particular spiders. Some are more skittish. Some we know it will just stay still, so I know I can pick up the leaf. So if it's something that is new to me, I'll just be more careful. Just take record shots first, make sure I do everything I need before I approach, go closer and start to maybe shift it a bit or whatnot. I try to observe different angles.
Okay, so is there ethics as to like maybe you should only photograph for 5 minutes with flash or something like that?
No, in general, most spiders are like they don't rely much on sight aspect, except for those with very large eyes, which means either Denopis, Asianopis, or the jumping spiders. Okay, but even so, right, if they are that irritated or that blinded, they'll jump away. But most of the time, I see them jumping towards the light. Yeah. So for jumping spiders, in general, insects, invertebrates, they go towards the light. That's why invertebrate studies, they have light traps. They use the light traps to attract all the invertebrates to fly towards the light so they can sample what's around in that area. So for jumping spiders, you talk about ethics. There are other things that for in terms of ethics, what I would say is try to shoot in situ. One is you present accurate scientific information on where it was found. Second is it's less likely that you will run. Okay, if you start to displace the spider, it's not at its original position. You'll feel uncomfortable. You start running around. It will not stop for you to take a photo already. I mean, it's possible it will stop, but it's already start running. It's very active. It's very hard for you. You have to wait a long time for it to stop.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. So actually, it's in your favor to be ethical in that sense.
Yes. That's why I would say I'll prefer to shoot where it was found first.
Okay.
And it happens when we go out to shoot at time, right? The one who found it has better shots of it sometimes, because after the rest calm, disturb, adjust a bit, shift here and there, and then the fellow will start to run already. Once it start running, sometimes they don't stop.
Okay.
Also, it depends on luck. If you're lucky, sometimes it just stop for you.
So do you shoot insects as well?
Everything that moves. I mean, basically we are already out,
Yes.
If that or even snakes is just dancing in front of me, I'll shoot.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, I do shoot a lot of insects. Basically, I shoot all invertebrates.
All invertebrates, okay.
Yeah, almost all. What the things that I don't shoot much will be those that are already popular. There are other specialized groups dealing with them, like butterflies, dragonflies. I don't shoot a lot of them because they are dragonfly groups, they are butterfly groups. So I go after those that nobody bother with.
Yeah,
good approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope that Nicky can give us a Coleoptera database in a few years.
Yeah.
I have one. Longfa will have.
Yes, yeah. I think that's the really.
We'll see when his book will be out.
Okay, good. Fingers crossed. Yeah. There's a couple of other general questions for you. I think, Gloria, shall I just throw them out?
Okay, we'll just wrap in about at 4:15. So you
can yeah. So there's a bunch of general questions just to understand your approach to photography. There's one question from Sinwei Xia asking whether if you are doing it more as a hobby or is it professional income source for you?
Hobby. No one's want to pay me to shoot spiders. If you find one, let me know. Right now it's still a hobby. Yeah. So it's not enough to pay bills. If I were to teach people how to shoot spiders, teach people about spiders. So it's overall it's still gonna be a hobby.
Okay. And one really general question, I think it's from AC. AC asks whether if you've been bitten by spiders.
No. I've disturbed a lot of spiders before, no chance to get bitten. Easily thousands, easily arrest 1,000 over spiders before. No, I don't find a chance to get bitten. You really have to ask for it. You really have to press the spider, put your fingers in front of the jaws for them to want to bite you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not easy to get bitten.
You
have to really try. But if I mean, in terms of, to be serious, if you talk about those that are venomous, that are of medical significance to humans, and you see in other countries like the black widows or spiders like that, most of the time they get bitten because the spiders are hiding in their clothes. And when they wear their clothes, you force the spider in the corner. They have no choice but to bite. So it's their retaliation. Okay, so I don't really know of spiders that will, but once they see you, they go and chase after you and bite you. I don't know of any like that.
Okay.
Almost every spider I see will go in the opposite direction.
I see. That's very reassuring. Yeah. I have one last question. This is again my own personal question. I mean, Gloria, please step in if you want to
No,
throw
no,
another
go ahead,
question.
please. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is now I want to ask a regional question. So I presume, I mean, since you've done the Borneo book, you probably have covered a bunch of different habitats, including places, environment that cannot be found in Singapore, like montane forests, right? So
Mm.
what's your take on spider diversity in the montane forests or like those peat swamps? Do you have any interesting observations? Are they very rich in spiders or less species than lowland forests? Quite curious to know what your thoughts are.
Not as much, but you say talk about montane, right? What I can say is most of them have a lower temperature. When the temperature is lower, you don't see as many spiders out in the open. There'll be more spider diversity in the leaf litter, for example. So that's where they will hide. You look under the leaf litter, they will see a lot more spiders there. Then you will see a bit fewer obweavers. But to me, that's because of the temperature difference.
I see, I see. Yeah, because I think I've been through Kinabalu donkey times and I don't think I've seen huge numbers of weavers there. Yeah.
Have. Even the pavilions.
Ah, okay, good to know. Yeah, it's just that for me, my eyes are mostly on vertebrate lah, so we're
Yes.
not paying enough. Yeah,
It's very, very different because
yeah,
your focus distance is much further away.
exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
looking at things that within 30 cm from my eyes. I won't see big vertebrates in front of me sometimes. Yeah. So I'm just focusing on things that are near, close by or small.
I see. Oh, one really good question just came in into the chat. Let's take it as the final question for today, the final one before we close it for the afternoon. So this coming from NG, and seems like she wants to know a little bit more about your experience in publishing the book. Yeah, I think she wants to know how that book came about and whether there are any interesting events in the course of publication.
Well, when publishing any spider book, we have to be very prepared that there will be changes, there will be mistakes. So this is what we learn because the spider taxonomy is always changing. After you fix everything together, the next day someone will publish something that this genus has been moved to another family, or this genus has been split into 18 other genera. Then that's where the headaches come in. I mean, that really happened when we were doing the book. Okay, so when we do the book, everything very put nicely in sequence already. Then we do it in alphabetical order. These kind of things happen. Then we have to do a lot of changes here and there. So this is one of the things that will happen. As to how it started, because I take a lot of photos, I document a lot, I try to put labels to them by doing some homework as well. Then Mr. Joseph Koh approached me to work on something together.
Excellent.
So
Yeah,
so
that's
that took about at least 3 years, 2 to 3 years.
3 years. How many
2 to
pages is
3
it?
years is just to put together. Maybe 400, at least 450.
Oh, that's quite substantial.
It's 2 kilograms. Because I do the shipping last time, so I know it's 2 kilograms when we ship. That's why it's very expensive to ship overseas.
I see. And you said that it's not easy to get the book in Singapore, right? We have to get it directly through you, right?
Actually, we do have one box left with
Okay.
Joseph. We do have one box left. So that's the last of it in Singapore. The other remaining stock, if you want to get, will be in Malaysia.
Excellent. Okay, so I think, do you want to leave a contact here in case anybody on the call wants to get a copy? I think
You can go to my website. There'll
Okay.
be various modes of contact over there.
Okay, steady. That would be good.
Email
Yeah.
will be the best.
Yeah. I'm still using the old Murphy spider book. I think I need a new one.
A lot of things are outdated.
Yeah. Excellent. So I think well, we are pretty much done right now. I think there's been a really great discussion with a whole bunch of questions covering everything from natural history to the some of Nicky's approach in spider photography. I'd like to I think I'll pass the floor back to Gloria maybe to end today's session and maybe tell us what to expect for the next one. Gloria, floor's
Okay.
yours. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Nikki, very much for giving this talk and taking us through all those excellent photos. And so basically, we hope to see more, of course, and maybe you can give a talk on the other on insects as well. Yeah, on all your photos in that direction. Yeah. So let's hope. And okay, take care, everybody. We'll see you at the next talk. Normally 2 months once we organize a Zoom talk, so look out for it under Nature Society. Okay, thank you.
Gloria, the topic is not confirmed yet, right? The next one.
Which one?
The next talk.
Is in your court, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll let folks know when it's firmed up. Yeah. Ken.
Okay, can. Okay, thanks, guys.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Nikki. Great
Thank
talk.
you. Thank you. Bye.